From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell and I've flown to my mother city, Adelaide, direct from Perth, ahead of what is now going to be the day-night test match between Australia and India, part of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, which has got off to, well, maybe an unexpected start for some. We're going to be chatting plenty about that in the programme. And before I left Perth, I did manage to make it to Rottnest Island, cycled the perimeter of the island, stunning scenery and amazing colours of the ocean, and also saw some real live quokkas. And if you're not familiar with them, they're marsupials, kind of a cross between, let's say, a kangaroo and a rat. But they're kind of cuter than that. Wouldn't you agree, Jim?
Yes, I've got a furry one as a souvenir from Harsha Bogle's business with West Australian Tourism in Perth. So I'll be taking him around during the series and hope I need some good luck charm after what happened in Perth. Jim Maxwell here in Sydney after a magnificent performance by India in the first test, which really did obliterate Australia. So question marks galore hang around what will happen next in Adelaide. And if I were the Australian players, I'd be nipping off to the cathedral before the test and having a prayer or two.
Well, India have actually won in Adelaide before, but never in Perth. So that was a magnificent, miraculous victory, come from behind, as it were. This is Charu Sharma. I'm in the middle of the Rajasthan desert. Talk about mother territory. I'm here for my 50th reunion of my batch from school. We're right in the middle of it. And yet I thought, hey, why not do a stumped edition from the middle of absolutely nowhere? Luckily, there is a reasonable amount of connectivity. But of course, apart from the BGT, it's the auctions that took a lot of our attention and a lot of the money of the various franchises. Some terrific stories there.
But first on Stumped, the IPL mega auction, which was held over 2 days in Saudi Arabia this week. And India wicketkeeper bat Rishabh Pant became the most expensive player in the history of the tournament. He was signed by Lucknow Super Giants for over $3 million. And that's after Super Giants and his former side, Delhi Capitals, got into a bit of a bidding war for his services. Meanwhile, a 13-year-old Vaibhav Suryavanshi became the youngest ever player to get an IPL deal, with Rajasthan Royals paying around $130,000 for him. I'm very pleased to say we have the Chief Executive of Rajasthan Royals with us on Stumped, Jake Lush McCrum. Jake, great to see you. How have you recovered from the auction, first of all? I mean, just how much planning goes into it?
Yeah, well, it's great to be here. I don't think I have recovered yet. I think I've got a few days ahead, and as you can hear from a slight cough, I think the intensity, you hit at a slight wall afterwards, because it is so much work. I think we were 14 days straight together as a unit. We spent a week in Bangalore with Rahul and the analytics team. We then spent some time in Mumbai before going to Jeddah. So it's full on, it's full throttle. You have to delve into every scenario, every dynamic of every player selection. I've actually got two of our signings in the room next to me now. We got Nitish Rana and Yudhvir here. And so everything moves fast. Once you've signed the players, it's all about how you integrate them into the franchise as quickly as possible. The preparation is intense, but I love it. And hopefully our fans are happy with the squad we've built.
I mean, I'm always intrigued as to how you manage to keep your nerves in the bidding process, rather than making impulse buys and when prices keep going up. Like you've managed to bring back Jofra Archer. How pleased are you to have secured him?
Yeah, delighted. Jofra obviously started his IPL journey with us back in 2018 and had some incredible years, MVP of the tournament, I think in 2019 or 2020. So yeah, we were really happy to have him back in the setup. Spoke to him quickly afterwards, and he was really excited as well because he's got that deep connection with us as a franchise, and we know his family very well from our time in Barbados too. So he's delighted, we're delighted, and that explosive capability is something that is very unique. So it's great to pick him up, and yeah, and as you say, I mean, you talked about impulse buys. I think you have to be well planned going in. You do see players going undervalued, and there's a balance between, whether you're pushing people up on price or or impulse buying and getting that balance right. But we thankfully got the guys we were targeting, and are happy with the squad we put together.
And with Jofra, is there any concern at all about his injury record? Because whilst he's been with you before, he hasn't played that many IPL games in recent years.
Look, I think he has gone through a challenging few years, but he's well looked after now. I think the ECB have got a good management program with him. Actually, the ECB physio, Craig, is actually our physio in the IPL as well. So there's that continuity of management, which is really important. And he's just playing white ball cricket, obviously, in the build up to this season. So I think he can be managed well. So I think from all of the reviews we got in before the auction, he's in a really good place. And we'll take great care in ensuring he remains in that good place.
Well, one of the biggest stories of this IPL auction was, of course, the 13-year-old Vaibhav Suryavanshi. So let's get your thoughts, Jake, on why you went for him, and of course, it paid a reasonable amount of money, and how much have you seen of him? What's the whole Vaibhav Suryavanshi story according to you?
Yeah, so Vaibhav, he's obviously a talented player. We'd seen him in the Indian under-19s, scored a century there. So we got him down to our trials at the High Performance Centre. And look, he really impressed our guys on the ground. And, when you're looking at the first year of an auction cycle, you do have the flexibility to sign someone that you can develop, right? If you sign someone in the third year, they have to be ready to go from match one. If you sign them the first year, you can develop them through that cycle. Now, do we believe he can step up at any point? Of course we do. But we're looking long-term as well as short-term with a signing like this. And when you see the skill set that you really like, and our scouts and our high performance director really liked what they saw, it's one of those opportunities you don't want to miss. We did it with Jaiswal, back in 2019, 2020, where for the first year it took a little bit of time to get in, and by year 3 he was flying. And so that's what we love as a franchise, is to invest in young talent, is to develop raw talent, and to get them actually into the Indian team over time. And we've done that with Yash, Dhruv, Rian. And hopefully we can do the same. But for now, it's just keeping him calm, keeping him focused on his development. And we'll get him to our high performance center later in December, and we'll start our work with him then. But we're already meeting his family, we're already spending time with him. There's a lot of pressures that come in when you get signed in the IPL. So we're just trying to block out all those external influences and just let him focus on cricket, let him focus on being a young kid playing cricket, and we'll try and help manage all the rest. To avoid as much stress as possible in his life.
And do you ever think going forward, Jake, that you might think about year-long contracts for your players at Rajasthan Royals, given that you have franchises around the world?
So I think each franchise is sort of independent in its entity and structuring, and each league is independent in the rules they set up. So can a franchise player play for multiple franchises? Of course, that's possible, and you see it with various players around the world now. I don't think year-long contracts are a thing. It's more the franchise leagues you're in. If you can have your players developing in all of them, then that's helpful, balancing around their international commitments and all their other work. So, we've had Joss in Pal Royals previously. We've got Tikshana in Barbados Royals, who we've just signed. We've had Rovman Powell across a few of them. So, of course, we want to develop these guys. We want to give them the right match sort of development preparation as they build towards the season. So next year, I'd hope to see some of our overseas guys in some of these different leagues playing with us. But it's all about balancing that with their international fixtures as well, and making sure they have the best sort of year-round development for them as a player.
And of course, you've got Barbados Royals women. Will we see Rajasthan Royals women in the future, an expanded WPL?
Look, we'd love a women's Premier League team. With any, as I said before, with any of the new ventures, the commercial viability has to make sense, and the valuations of the franchise have to be at a level we think is feasible to build a business around. If that's the case, then we've invested a lot in women's cricket. We've just finished our Schoolgirls Cup, which had 1,500 participants across every district in Rajasthan, all 50 districts. We had Rahul Dravid at the final. Actually, he got beaten by a couple of female bowlers, which was amazing to see. So we're going to continue investing in women's cricket, whatever happens with the WPL. If we can be part of it, that would be amazing. But if not, we'll continue investing in grassroots women's cricket in India, but also around the world.
Well, that was Jake Lush McCrum, Chief Executive of Rajasthan Royals. Let's widen things out and look at some of the other teams with the former team director of Kolkata Knight Riders, Joy Bhattacharjya. Joy, welcome to Stumped. First of all, the Rishabh Pant story goes up a notch, doesn't it? Most expensive player in IPL history after that horrific car crash that he was lucky to escape alive from.
Absolutely. And in fact, the great backstory is that he's gone back and he's bought scooties, vehicles, two-wheelers for the two guys who pulled him out of that situation. But he's an absolute character. And the amazing thing is his resilience, his ability to be able to, come back. And so often you see a guy's got an injury, and it's not just the injury, it's what's playing on his head. And Rishabh he's in that sense, he's so resilient, he's so strong. It's unbelievable. And, Delhi probably made him a really good offer before he came out. But, he wanted to go and test the market. And, it's also backing himself, knowing that, I can do it and I'm worth more than even this.
Definitely. And LSG, though, have ended up not signing an established Indian opener. Could they regret that?
I think that ship had sailed last year, and I've spoken to KL after that and his team. And the truth of it is that, let's even forget about what actually they spoke about. But that clip out there where, Sanjeev Goenka seemed to be speaking to him right after this, defeat that they had. And I think the body language out there was such that, after that rebuilding that relationship, going back, and there was a lot of damage control that happened at the time. But I think for both parties that was the point where it all soured. And I think at some point, both of them are better off to going in their separate directions.
Joy, it's Jim Maxwell here in Sydney. Could you please speculate on Ricky Ponting's new influence at the Punjab Kings after he acquired 5 of the 8 overseas players, Australians? Is it fair to call them the Aussie Kings now?
Well, look, this has been a long story, and every time you see an Australian coach, you look at that and you wonder. But the truth of it is the Australians are also brilliant T20 players. Most importantly, that they're really, really, really professionals. And I think now you're seeing the UK players, for the first 4-5 years, ECB regarded this whole IPL business as with a lot of suspicion. I think they've embraced it now, but the Australians embraced it from the start, and they said, this is a format that we like. But Ponting is in an interesting place because, I always liken the Punjab Kings to 1980s Bollywood production. Bollywood is this, the Mumbai film industry. Because what happens is in the 80s, you had all these stars and they had so much time. You had so much time just convincing the stars to come on set because these guys used to shoot 3-4 movies at a time. So they used to move from set to set on one single day. That once they come, you don't know what to do with them. So Punjab is a lot like that. You've got 3 owners, all of whom are in your ears all the time, sometimes at 2 o'clock at night telling you what to do. You have so much time. So the poor hapless coach has so much trying to control them and keep them in order that, there's not that much time to do in the team, which is why you see consistently they've had really good teams on paper, but they haven't performed. So it'll be interesting how Ricky takes it, because I don't think Ricky's the one who stands for too much. He's not going to listen to too much back chat and, how to run a team from somebody who hasn't scored at least 10,000 test runs. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out. But,
I'm commentating again with him next week, Joy, so I might be able to ask him on the fly.
Yeah, please ask him. And as I said, tell him that we've all bought the popcorn. We are waiting to watch. We are watching this.
Well, I could ask you about David Warner. No bid. Any future? 38 years of age. Is he gone?
I think unless something happens this year and somebody gets injured and he comes back, I think, yeah. Otherwise, and it's interesting because I feel in many ways David Warner was hugely loved in India, and he found a home especially in Hyderabad. I mean, Delhi is comparatively new, but in Hyderabad he was like a local guy. He'd get reels made with Hyderabadi Telugu music in the background and all that. And I think that's it, adjusting to life beyond. And he's there in the commentary box, but I don't think commentary or coaching is his natural thing. His natural thing is hitting a cricket ball.
Joy, thank you so much for being with us on Stumped. Great to get your thoughts. That's Joy Bhattacharjya, the former team director of Kolkata Knight Riders.
Thanks. Lovely being here.
Well, what about the way India got off to a winning start in the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, a walloping of Australia in the opening test in Perth, and a 5-match series, though, remember. I don't know about you, Jim, but I found like the Aussie crowd don't seem to mind their team losing, was my observation. They obviously want improvement in the batting in a big way, but a lot of Aussies seem to find it quite refreshing that their team's being tested. We've got Jasprit Bumrah now back at the world #1 spot in the Test bowling rankings. He was outstanding as standing captain, as well as with his bowling, 8 for 72 in the match and a massive 295-run victory. There were record crowds in Perth, of which there were a lot of Indians, and they were treated to hundreds by Yashasvi Jaiswal and a return to form for King Kohli. Virat has silenced his doubters. The second test is a day-nighter. It starts in Adelaide on the 6th of December. The Australians have already added all-rounder Bo Webster to their squad. But, Jim, there's like a whole week of analysis of Australia's batting woes ahead, of which there are many. I mean, is this a humbling start to the series for the Aussies?
I would say that's a very accurate description. And I don't think there's any doubt that the lack of build-up of Test cricket, they haven't played any Test cricket since March, and they weren't convincing in that second Test, the last one they played against New Zealand, but they somehow got out of it. So there are questions about a bit of ageism in the side, a lack of quality opening batting. So there are a lot of questions around who should be playing if they fail again. And really, if they don't come back and level the series in Adelaide, the knives will be out. But where do you go? I don't know how you improve this side other than, say, Inglis coming in somewhere in the lineup. There's no Cameron Green, we know that. So the alternatives aren't great. And there's no doubt that Bumrah bowled the house down. That was a masterclass in fast bowling, and it derailed Australia completely. And their bowlers were out there again without being refreshed with a good break. And India batted superbly in their second innings. So this is going to be a task and a half for Pat Cummins and the Australian side to get level and to get some momentum in this series. And I have no idea what the team will look like in 2 or 3 tests' time if India keep dominating. And, of course, India need, if they're thinking about it, to get into the WTC final to win 4 test matches. The way they're going, they might.
I mean, can you see any changes to the 11 for this test match, Jim, or do you think that they will, stick with Labuschagne in particular, who, just looks so out of sorts with that second innings dismissal in particular, but all the heat is focused on him at the moment?
If Marsh can't play, I would play Inglis, because with a pink ball, you can get away with a shorter bowling attack, I would have thought, and hope that your lead bowlers with Nathan Lyon and the backup of, Travis Head. I was going to say Labuschagne, but his bowling, his medium paces are embarrassing. So I would go that way if Marsh isn't fit. I wouldn't be playing Webster. I'd play Inglis and bolster the batting. But we'll see, because Bo Webster's probably got a future at some point. But he's more of a batting all-rounder, and it just underlines how much they miss Cameron Green's oomph with his batting, and also he's very quick, bouncy, fast bowling. So that's a big problem for Australia until next year. But that's all I would do. Stick with these guys and hope that it works. If it doesn't, as I say, the alternatives aren't great. Hard to name.
It's the case, isn't it? Cameron Green's stock is rising by being out of the team at the moment, but we do know the talent that he has on offer, that's for sure. And yet, Australia have played 7 pink ball tests in Adelaide and won them all. But then again, Australia hadn't lost a test at Perth Stadium until this week, so who knows which way it will go. Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped. So thanks to Jim Maxwell and Charu Sharma, and to all of you. And we will speak to you again next week. Until then, bye for now.